Okay.
Right. Okay. Can you? Okay. So far, does anyone have a question about main.py, helpers.py, and students.json? So we all understand how these three work, correct? Okay. So okay. Yes, more blessing.
My apologies. Can you kindly repeat on the students' JSON how it works? My apologies.
Okay. So students.json, right? It's the one that stores the student data. So this is not code, it's a file that holds information saved on the disk. So when we run our code, whatever information that is going to be saved by our program, it's going to save it into students.json. Right? So that when we close the program and open it again tomorrow or any other day, we can still have access to that information. So for now, students.json is going to be our database.
All right, thank you.
Okay, great. All right. So you might, maybe you guys are wondering, why does this matter? Like creating a folder, then creating multiple Python files, right? So imagine a program, let's say with 2,000, 3,000, or even 10,000 lines of code, all in one file, and you need to fix one bug. How are you going to find that particular bug in one large file? Right. So when you have these multiple smaller files, when you get an error, it's easy for you to track down the error, because in the error it's going to tell you which file has the bug. So then you know, okay, so the bug is on helpers.py, so I can just check helpers.py. Right. So that's the whole point of project structure. It's not just for decoration, it's just to make your job easier when you are debugging the code. Right. Right. So do you all understand what's the use of project structures? Okay. So now I want us to talk about the final project, right? So the final project for month 1. So since we now know how our project is organized, helpers.py, main.py, and students.json, right? So our final project is an advanced student management system. So it's a build up from this system, the one that we did before, right? So it's this system, but an advanced one, right? So what our project is going to do is that, okay, let me say, okay, advanced student management system, right? So our project 1, it's supposed to calculate averages and grades. 2, save and load data, right? Save and load data using JSON. Right. So 7 load data using JSON, right? So we are going to use students.json, right? So it's students.json, right? So it's supposed to use OOP, right? Validation and a menu, right? So we all understand what our system is supposed to do, right? Okay, great. Yes, Mr. Changa. Yeah, yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Changa.
yeah. Speaking on my behalf, I'm not so sure if the other guys do understand the menu part. Maybe you're going to show us today. Did we learn about that?
So, with the menu part, right? For example, it's going to be in our command line. When we run the code, it's going to ask the user to enter a number. When when the user enters a number, that number is going to lead something to something else. When a user enters a certain number, that number is also going to lead to something else. So
So
with
that's
the
the menu.
yes, with the menu, you are going to be using if, elif, and else statements.
I understand. It's okay.
So you okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. So we all understand what our system is supposed to do, right? Okay. So since now we all know what our system is supposed to do, I want us to talk about pseudocode, right? Pseudocode. All right. So what is pseudocode? Right. So pseudocode is planning your code in plain English. Right. So pseudocode just means planning the program in simple plain English before coding. Right. So we have pseudocode because if you can't explain what your program should do in plain English, you definitely cannot write it in Python. So pseudocode forces you to think through the logic first, so that when you are now writing the code, you are translating a plan, not inventing a plan whilst coding. Right. So pseudocode is planning your program in plain English, right? Alright. So pseudocode is planning your program in plain English. Right. So an example of pseudocode is like this. Okay. So we have start program. So we start our program. Once we start our program, we load students from JSON, right? After loading our students from JSON, we show the menu, right? So our menu is going to have, if user chooses one, it can be add student. If user chooses two, we view students. If user chooses three, search for a student. If user chooses four, right? Update a student, right? If user chooses 5, delete a student, right? If user chooses 6, exit the program, right? If the user chooses to exit the program, before we can end the program, we have to save students back to students.json, right? Then we end the program. So this is our pseudocode, planning your program in plain English. So right here, I've already planned our project for us. So we know that our project is supposed to start once our project, once we're now running the project, we're supposed to load the students from students.json. Whether this file is students, so it doesn't matter, we're still supposed to load it, right? After we load the file, then we now show the menu. When you show the menu, then the user is supposed to choose an option from this menu, right? When a user chooses one, we ask them to enter the student details, etc. Then when they're done entering the student details, we are supposed to give them another menu, whether it's to add another student or go back to the main menu. So when they go back to the main menu, then they can choose another option, right? So this is what we call pseudocode, just planning your program in plain English. So from this, we now know what our program is supposed to do. Any questions are with pseudocode? Any questions? Okay, let me start again and explain this part, right? So here we have start program, right? So every program has a beginning, right? So the start program is what happens when we run our code, right? Then we have load students from JSON. Before we show anything to the user, right, we need to pull whatever data already exists from our saved file, which is students.json. Then we have show menu. So show menu, that's when we display the options to the user, right? But notice that I haven't decided how I'll display it yet, whether it's print or whether it's what. I haven't decided, right? So this how I am going to display the menu options to the user. That's a coding issue for something later, right? So right now, what's only important is about what the system is supposed to do, not how, but what it is supposed to do. Right. So then we have what? Save students. Before the program ends, we write our data back to the file, this file student.json, to make sure that nothing is lost. Because if we end our program without saving the data back to students.json, then everything that we worked with is going to be lost. End program, that's when we shut down our program, right? So do you okay? Yes, more Blessing.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to find out on students, there's students.json, right? Then line 17, 19, 20, and 21. We are using search student, whatever student. Then line 18 and line 23, we are using students. Is there, I don't know, but I wanted to find out why are we using students and student? Does the code run the same, or I don't know. I just wanted to figure out if it will run because we are using students and student.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm using students and students because it's like since this is just plain English. If user chooses one, we just add student. We don't add students. We're adding one student at a time. So that's why it's add student. Then if user chooses two view students, we're viewing all of the students, not just one student, but all of the students. Right? So if user chooses 3 search student, that means we're searching only for one student, and then updated student, we're just updating one student. But all of these are all going to be working with students.json.
All right, thank you.
So do you get it now?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much.
Okay. So anyone else with a question about pseudocode? Okay, so we all understand how pseudocode works, right? Right. If you look at the pseudocode, you notice that it does not contain the def keywords, no import, no colons, no nothing, right? So that's just the point. So pseudocode is just plain English, right? So I can write whether I'm coding in JavaScript or any other language, right? I write the pseudocode the same way, right? So pseudocode is just planning your program in plain English. Right? So before you write any program, you have to start here. You have to start with pseudocode so that you can know the steps you are supposed to take when you are now writing the code. Right. So let's move on to skeleton code. Right. So after planning our pseudocode, we're now moving one step closer to real code, but still not filling in the details. Right. By filling in the details, I mean that writing the code. Right. This is what we call skeleton code. It shows the structure before we fill in the details. Okay. Skeleton code. Right. It shows the structure before we write the code. Right. So we know what our project is supposed to do. We're now using our pseudocode. We now have to write what the skeleton code, right? Just the basic structure or the functions and the classes that our code is supposed to have. Right. So we know that we are dealing with students, so we need a class student. We leave it. We just say pass, right? Remember pass. This is used to tell Python that okay, I've created this function, this loop, this class, or whatever, but for now I'm not going to write any code inside it. Just pass it. Right? Act as if it doesn't exist. Right? So we can use our student class to get what? The student data. Right? So let's say then we get our another class student manager. So with student manager, we're going to manage our students. It can be add, update or delete a student, right? Then we need another class, load students. Okay, right? Now let's make it what a function. Okay. So with the load students, that's when we're going to load all of the students from students.json, right? Then we have what? Our menu, the main menu, right? So we have our class student manager, load students, main menu. Let's see. Okay, we also need to save our students, right? So we create another function, save students, right? So judging from our skeleton, from our pseudocode, these are the classes and functions that we are going to need for our project, right? So class student, okay, this will represent one single student, right? It will represent one single student at a time, right? Their name, their grades, their ID, or whatever structure we're going to use when creating our students, right? Then we have our class student manager. This will hold and manage all the students, the adding, the searching, and the deleting, right? And then load students manager. This function's job will be to read students.json and bring that data to our program. And then save students. It will take whatever is in our program and save it into students.json, right? And then main menu. This is where our pseudocode from before we actually leave. These if statements that are going to live inside main menu. So this function will show the menu and decide what happens for each choice, right? So when we are now creating our system, we can have more classes, more functions, or even delete some of these functions as we might not need them. So for now, these are the functions that we think we are going to need. Right. So any questions about skeleton code, pseudocode, and and about our project? Any questions? So we all understand how pseudocodes and skeleton code work. Yes, Mr. Changa.
Okay, so the skeleton code has to be correct, like it has to be strictly Python, is it? It's different from the pseudocode, which you said you can write it anyhow.
That's correct.
Okay, right, okay.
So anyone with a question? So I guess we all understand how our project structure and project planning actually work, right? Okay, then that's great. So today it was just a light lecture, nothing deep, to give you guys time to process our OOP. Right, so remember that tomorrow we're going to have our Q&A session about OOP. Then on Monday, we're going to start our project. Right, so we're going to do our project on Monday and Tuesday. So it's going to be a 2-day project, so that I can take you guys through OOP step by step when writing our project. Okay, so I hope you guys are revising OOP and you have already started writing down your questions so that I can help you guys tomorrow. So if no one has a question, I guess that's it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow.